Good evening and welcome. My name is Ruiz-Nicolas. I will be your host for the GRN show. On January 12, 2010, a 7.0 magnitude earthquake struck Haiti, leaving its capital, Port-au-Prince, devastated. About 220,000 people were reportedly killed. And according to the UN, some 300,000 people were injured and more than 1.5 million became homeless. So today's show is dedicated to remembering the hundreds, thousands of Haitian compatriots who lost their lives 13 years ago. But also it is to honor those who are alive and were affected, and an opportunity for us to do a little check-in. From 2010 to 2023, where are we? Our guests this evening are no strangers to the diaspora. They usually are in the forefront of assisting Haiti during those crises. So I have with me the Garry Pierre-Pierre, the editor of the Haitian Times. He is a Pulitzer Prize winning multimedia and entrepreneurial journalist. Garry, welcome, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Gita.
Also, we have with us Dr. Claude Compas, the founder of one of the largest Haitian-owned and operated medical clinics in Brooklyn, and a leader committed to advancing social justice. You know, when we were dealing with the stigma of AIDS, Dr. Compas played a big role in ensuring that really we were not included in one of the individuals who would infect others. So thank you again for doing that, Dr. Compas.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Excellent, excellent. So this question, I'm going to start with my first question, and it is for both of you. Just give us a brief synopsis about the role you played after the 2010 earthquake, not only professionally, but also as a community leader. I'll start with you, Dr. Compas.
I was going to let Garry start.
Either way.
So Garry, why don't you start?
Well, okay, I will. I remember that day very well because it was a Tuesday. It was very cold. I was at home because it's deadline for the paper. And a friend of mine called me and said, I heard there was an earthquake in Haiti. And I said, okay, let me find out. And I went online. And so the Associated Press had a brief story about it, gave us the category and said more to be, this is a developing story, we'll get more to it. So immediately I called Dr. Compas and I told him things are pretty bad. And he said, what are you gonna do? And the next day we were on a plane to the Dominican Republic. I brought in 3 correspondents, 3 reporters and photographers from New York. And we flew to the Dominican Republic and we loaded up a car. We rented a car, loaded up with food and provisions, and then went overland. When we got there, when we were approaching Port-au-Prince, everything seemed normal. And I don't know if I said this, Dr. Compas, but I felt like, okay, my colleagues are exaggerating the story. The story is not as bad as it is. Until, of course, we drove into the center. I think it was where we got to Del Mar, and we just saw dead bodies on the streets. And I steeled myself for what was to come. And at that point, our first goal was to make sure that her families were okay. Unfortunately, Dr. Compas lost his dad during this.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And so, we just want to make sure the other members of our families, we bought them food because everybody was homeless. They were sleeping outside because they were traumatized. Everybody was afraid to go inside. And we slept in a car. And then the next day, I started reporting. We just found out all over the city. We went to the morgue. There were bodies were piled up. It was one of the most searing event memories that I've witnessed. And I have to say that I still haven't cried because I just couldn't myself because it was too much. I was overcome with grief and watching this destruction, death. And so that was it. And then, I remember the other thing when we were at the airport, everybody, it was the beginning of Facebook. So, everybody was sending us their family's address to go and see if they're okay and let them know. And, we were overwhelmed. I mean, everyone was, but we had to find the courage, the strength to do the work. And Dr. Compas is not a journalist, but that's my sidekick. Whenever there's a big story in Haiti, he's there, and we're covering it together, and it's really fun. So, but it was a tragic moment, and here we are, 13 years now. Wow.
All right. Well, Dr. Compas, I am so sorry about your loss. And I don't know how you dealt with that while you were there to help, the people there, how you dealt with this loss.
It was difficult because I lost my dad, my brother, and uncles, aunt. We lost about 8 people in the family, cousins, and so on and so forth. So it was a very traumatic moment, and still traumatic, very traumatic. As Guy said, when we got to Port-au-Prince, it was at the beginning very quiet because people were dying. The only cry we heard were people under the wobbles. We still have people under the wobbles. And also, Guy, if you remember, the smell of the decomposed body, that was terrible. And one of the things that really stayed in my mind was when we went to the Hospital General. Because we were looking for Dr. Lasse Galix, was in charge of the hospital. He was a very good friend of mine. And we got to the hospital, and you have 1,000 of people in the yard of the hospital, and no one was crying. Silent, sad, but almost all of the body of the people there were traumatized people with fracture of the head was open, the broken legs, broken arms, but they were just sitting or lying down and looking at us. It was, for me, that was something that was very tragic. The way that the people, in spite of their situation, they stayed calm with a lot of without losing their temper, and those people were there for 3 days without food and water. It was very, very, very traumatic.
We are a strong people and very resilient. I don't know anyone as resilient as us. So I can see where, people are traumatized. Wow. It's almost as if, you're reliving it again. And, but, what prompted me to do this program is obviously, by nature, I'm very optimistic. And I know there were so many members from the international community offering their help. I think we received more than 10 billion in aid from the international community. And people are asking, how did we benefit? So Garry, as a journalist, I guess, I don't know if that has been followed. What can you tell us about that?
Well, one sort of clarification, Haiti did not receive $10 billion in aid. Pledges were made, money were not disbursed. And the money that was disbursed went to international NGOs. So this is one time I can say the Haitian government did not steal this money. It didn't have control over that money. And so really it's the international community. A lot of organizations who knew nothing about development work were given money. For instance, the Red Cross. The Red Cross is a rescue and emergency organization. It does not develop anything. That's not its mission. And so it received so much money that it really didn't know what to do with it.
Wow.
So what they try to do, they build housing, and then they think six homes. And did stories about that, where sort of like the money was squandered, if you will, but not by the Haitians. It was done by the foreigners.
And it's interesting. You have that kind of money, you have people in crisis. How are you going to rely on people who don't even know much about the country? They don't know the lay of the land. They don't know the culture. So obviously a lot of people got rich, but I also understand there were other NGOs who were able to more or less make an impact.
Well, obviously, with that kind of money being thrown about, and some of them, they had to show their work. But I think where the Haitian government failed, if you will, is that they didn't really have a structure in place to make sure that the money was spent as planned, as requested. And so there was no follow-up. There was chaos among different layers of government. Because for one thing, these pledges that were made, they were made by presidents. As you know, presidents cannot write a check in a democracy. You have to lobby the Congress. It's the parliament who has to approve this budget, but we never follow up. And so nothing happened, and we were just too busy trying to deal with the reality of the day. But we should have been able to compartmentalize the task and just get a committee to do the follow-up to get the money into the country, but that wasn't done.
Very sad, very sad. And Dr. Compas, obviously, we had an earthquake in 2021. Hearing Garry, it's as if, nothing or not much was done. But as it relates to emergency management and providing humanitarian help, do you think we've made progress?
Yes, because for the earthquake, the 2021 earthquake, with a group of physicians and other people, we went down there and we went to the south. And what was extraordinary, the people who were there were medical physicians who gave their time free, coming from Port-au-Prince to help the people. And that was something extraordinary. Because for the 2010, the Haitian physicians and the Haitian nurses were not there. It was mainly in the emergency situation, it was mainly run by the foreigners. But this time, it's the Haitian physicians who were in charge. And they came. They are volunteer. They are not paid. They are not paid by the government. And don't forget, they came in spite of the fact that Port-au-Prince was in a dire situation. You have people couldn't cross the border. I call the border, which is a Carrefour, to go to the south. In spite of that, a lot of Haitian physicians coming from Port-au-Prince, coming from different hospitals in Port-au-Prince, went down south to help the people, and that was extraordinary. We had the opportunity to meet with a lot of them, and they are doing great work. They had the help of some NGOs who were able to bring materials, equipment, and so on and so forth. But the work was done totally by those Haitian physicians and nurses and other volunteers. That was exceptional. For the first time, I felt Haitians were taking in charge of their own problems, and that is exceptional.
That's encouraging to hear. I've also heard that, people would send merchandise. We know of a gentleman here in Miami. He has a boat that goes to Haiti. The materials that were on the boat, in order for him to kind of release them in Okai or somewhere in the South, the amount of money asked was so astronomical that it took forever to really give those supplies to the people. So how did you guys handle that in 2021?
We flew with some equipment, not a lot, in terms of the needs. But we came with a lot of equipment, especially surgical material, suture material, all kind of things. And then we were able to give it to some of the hospital and the facilities there. But that was very small compared to what was needed. But I can confirm, effectively, we try to to send a lot of equipment from New York by boat there. It got to the port in Miraguan, but it was stolen.
Wow.
People took them, and we never got them. We never got where it was supposed to go. And it's true. You need the help of the institutions in Haiti are very weak, very, very weak. So there is no control.
So making a note of that, this should be one of the first things we tackle, because obviously the diaspora and others, they're willing to help and send things. But if it's not going to get to the victims, what do you do? You know, how do you help those individuals? They say, send money, send money, send money. And there again, we need to have the accountability organizations that can truly account to whom they are giving and how many they are giving. So it's some work to be done. So, but I'm going to take a short break and we will be right back.
Okay.
We are back. We have with us Dr. Claude Compas and we have Garry Pierre-Pierre. They're both talking about their experience, you know, what happened 13, our topic actually is what happened 13 years after the 2010 earthquake. So we're back, gentlemen. And my next question is to really, both of you. And either one who wants to answer first, it doesn't matter. But the question is, why has Haiti not recovered? Or has Haiti recovered since the 2010 earthquake?
Well, the earthquake didn't happen in a vacuum. It really exposed all the weak institutions that Dr. Compas was talking about. We kind of tend to forget about lessons of the past. And I'm talking about from a governmental perspective. I mean, the people, they're there to help, but you know, in a situation like that, you really need the governmental leadership to really have the structure in place so you can respond. Even in 2021, like Dr. Compas said, it was mostly the people, the physicians, the local folks who did a lot of the work. And so the government at the time, remember, Jovenel Moise had been assassinated just a month or so earlier, and there was a vacuum once again. And so, but to your point about resiliency, people just, you know, just stepped up and did what needed to be done. But this is fine, but you cannot run a country like that. You need structure, you need things in place for emergency management. And on paper, we do, but in reality, it doesn't do the work that it's supposed to do efficiently and effectively.
And, you know, we've gone through so many of these crises. By now, we should have had a system in place where things like that happen. You deploy your group people and make sure that the community is taken care of. So, but Dr. Compas, what are your thoughts on that? Have we recovered?
Yes, as Guy said, it's on paper. It's true on paper. You have a whole plan what to do and how to do it. But in reality, the lack of resources, or they might have some resources, but they have nothing else. The lack of resources make things totally difficult. I remember the just before the earthquake in 2017 or 2018, I remember there was a hurricane in the south. We went also at the time with a group of physicians, and the people who came to help us were the Dominicans. It's the Dominicans that were there with their material, their tractors, their trucks, and so on and so forth, because the emergency management group or organization that we have in Haiti has no material, no inventory, nothing. So they have a structure where this person is in charge, a human structure, but in terms of equipment, in terms of tools, they have nothing.
And this is the part I don't understand. I don't understand how, as a country and as vulnerable as we are, I don't know if there's a budget process. I really don't understand why we don't have something in place, whether it's to procure the resources or human resources as well as supplies. I just don't understand why we don't have that. Is it because we don't know, or is it because lack of resources? People find money to do anything they want to do. I really don't understand why we don't have that. So help me understand.
It's a failure of leadership.
Garry, vas-y.
No, I think it's a failure of leadership, because you have to set priorities. Because as you said, Haiti is in a vulnerable place. We know that hurricanes are going to happen every year. That's guaranteed it will happen. And it's just a degree of devastation. And so therefore, any competent authority would make sure that they are able to respond to these emergencies that will come. Okay? We cannot pray them away. They will come. And so what do? Like these materials, they waste. A lot of them are wasting in many countries' garage and cities' garage, not being used. So, like you said, you have to know what you want and then go and get it. You have to prioritize things. I think part of it, and this is really harsh, is that I don't think the leaders care for the average Haitian. They don't care. That's not the first priority. Because if they was, they will make sure that they have what it takes, okay, to make it happen. We know a lot of these guys. They are highly educated and they know what to do, but they always find excuses for how in Haiti you can't do anything. That seems to be like routine anywhere else, but in Haiti we were told that this cannot be done. It has to be done. We know the earthquake will come. Now that we know that earthquakes are a thing in Haiti. They just the other day it was a mild one, like 3.2. But these will happen. They happen, and we know they're going to happen, and so we have to be prepared. And so, to me, it's not a mystery; it's a lack of care and empathy.
Good point. Did you want to say something, Dr. Compas, to that effect?
No, I totally agree with Garry, because almost every year we have something. See, for the last 20 years, I remember every year that most of the time it's hurricanes, but recently it had been earthquakes. So definitely there is no institution in charge of this kind of things. And if, as Garry said, the focus was to prepare for those disasters, things could have been in place for that.
It goes back to a conversation that collectivity, nurturing and supporting a community collectively. I am finding we are lacking in that. Very often you have people, they're sending their children to Switzerland, they're doing all kinds of things for themselves and their families. But how many of them really say, let's do something for my own little city or community where I live? I don't see that happen. Am I wrong?
You're 100% right.
Except those of us in the diaspora.
Just for themselves and their family. It's true.
Yes.
Totally true. The focus is me, myself, and moi, but not the community.
Yes. So I'll ask it in a different way. Have we learned anything
from the earthquake?
From the earthquake and the disasters. Climate change is really changing things where we may think hurricanes, earthquake are seasonal, but it seems, look what happened in California. we are moving in I want to say at a time where we'll have disasters year round. So we've got to learn from the previous incident so that the next one is not, negatively affecting the people as we've seen. So if we've learned anything, what are some of the lessons learned?
But I don't know. I'm on this end. I'm a bit pessimistic about what lesson, if any, we've learned, because there's no continuity. For instance, in 2010, believe it or not, we had CNO. It was the sanitation and construction office that Preval had created, and it helped. But now all the equipments are gone. It doesn't even exist, and so we were going backward. We're just reactive on these things, and so right now, let me bring this up. About 2 years ago, the Haitian time I was there, we did a 10-year later kind of thing. Do you know most people didn't care about the earthquake? They had moved on from that. And we wrote a story saying that it seems like at that time we were going to pay lock. So that's what people were worried about. That what became, the insufferable situation today. But it started in 2018, and so that's where people's mind was at. We had to really probe to get people to respond regarding the earthquake and the damage and everything. People had just moved on, and okay, next. And so that's really unfortunate. Even if you think about the memorial, they put one in Titan, at somewhere, nobody was going there, and nothing in Chanmars or something, because I think this trauma in many ways probably affected us here more than people in Haiti, because after a while, because their lot it was not diminished or improved. Mm-hmm. It was like, okay, I'm poor, I'm just living day to day, so yet another infliction. Okay, we move on. So that's what I saw. 2, 3, 4 years ago when we went down there to do follow up 10 years later kind of reporting, and people didn't really. It's not that they didn't care. I'm not going to say that, but
it wasn't a priority for them.
Exactly. It was a priority. They moved on because there were other issues to deal with. Mine sort of like remembrance of that moment. I'm the only one who really remembered it. They had moved on to other tragedies.
Wow. As I mentioned earlier, I am an optimistic, and obviously you guys are very inspiring because you have not given up on Haiti, and you continue to do your part. So I in doing your part, I will ask, what will it take? What will it take for us to really become aside from the leadership, Garry, because it seems like we are a country driven by the diaspora who wants the country to get better, but what can be done? How, and what is a message you'd like to leave our viewers with? Dr. Compas, Garry, that question is for both of you.
Well, I'll go first.
That's a big question. That's a big question.
That's a big question.
I have not a simple answer, but I think what needs to change is that civil society in Haiti needs to step up and impose itself in the country. Mm-hmm. And then they need to make allies with goodwill people outside of Haiti. Because we Haitians, and we are 3 Haitians, so are very smart people. We've achieved quite a bit outside of Haiti. And there are people in Haiti who are equally, if not smarter than that, but they don't have the opportunity, or they chose to stay in Haiti. And I think that's the alliance that needs to happen. It has to be done with respect, mutual respect, and it has to be done whereas the people in Haiti said, okay, we need partners. Can you join us? Because if we are doing things alone, or like we were saying earlier, that is resented, and that's why we fail sometimes. I mean, you think about it, well, on many levels, we'll say, well, we wanted to help, But I think the people in Haiti have this, well, did we ask you for help? Or what kind of help? So it's like, when I lived in Africa, I was in the Peace Corps, working in a village. One of the things they teach us is that listen to what the villagers want. Because if you force them on something on them, they're not going to use it. So if they say they want a water well, build a well. That's what they're going to do. If you think that they need because they need a better road, and you're going to try to build a road, and then nobody uses that road, and you get upset at these people, but they told you what they wanted. You just didn't want to listen. That's what you had your own agenda. So listen to the people's agenda, and then we can get things done. That's like I'm saying, it's simple, but it's very complicated because we have a history of distrust and mistrust. And so we have to put that aside. And that's the hard work. It's not about the money. It's not about the technical, because it's all there. It's about us wanting to take destiny as a country, as a diaspora, into our hands and where we take it. Hence my optimism, because I think as a people, we have the skills. We just have to apply them.
And learn to work together. Absolutely. Your last word, Dr. Compas?
No, you just said it. Learn to work together. The key to work together for what? And that's what up to today we are disagreeing, because we have been fighting on individual, looking for an individual to lead and so on and so forth. But to lead to do what? So my thinking recently, and my discussion recently with people, is that we should focus on a project. If we want to build a house, let's have the plan first, and then let's choose the right engineer and the right team that will build this house. If we want to build this country, let's know exactly what do we want, how do we want to have it done, and then let's look for the team, the right team that is going to build the house and build the country. So basically, at the end of the day, we need to develop a good plan, a good strategic plan for the country, and then we'll look for the right team that will work and build this house.
Okay, so I like everybody's optimistic comments. I never lose hope. I will never give up on Haiti, and it's good to see there are compatriots like yourself willing to work hard for the betterment of the people and the good for everybody. So I want to thank you both, Dr. Compas and Garry, so much for taking the time to be with us during this very crucial segment. And I want to thank you personally for all that you do.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to being here, and thanks for inviting me.
Great. Well, take care, and Dr. Compas will remember those that departed, and the others. So I think this is a week everybody need to reflect a little bit on our country and our laws. So thank you for helping me do that. We are back from our break, and I have to tell you, I spent a little bit of time reflecting on what Dr. Compas and what Garry Pierre-Pierre had to say. We must remain optimistic and hopeful. But I can tell you, as a Haitian American, it has been difficult for me to see the state of my homeland. My recollection of Haiti remains beautiful. Its natural beauty is like none other. The warmth of the people, and the hope that most live with, despite the poverty. I remember visiting Haiti, and at the time my daughter was a young girl, maybe 7, 8 years old, and saw this little boy, maybe around her age, pushing this big bourrette, they call it, with charbon, which coals. And she says, Mom, look at this little boy. He is pushing. This is very heavy for him. And, you know, the little boy kind of looked at us and smiled. And for me, that was a defining moment, showing the resiliency of our people, as well as, you know, we're happy people, no matter what the suffering is. So, but now the problems are so complex that people like myself who visited yearly, we are too afraid to do so. So I am hoping that, you know, we all can think a little bit about those that we've lost and think, how can I help to get us to where we need to be? You know, Margaret Mead noted, you know, I think one of my favorite quotes is, never underestimate the power of a few committed people who change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So how can we help? Can you help a nonprofit in Haiti? You know, maybe send them $50 a month for services. Can you adopt a school, you know, where 2-3 children, their tuition is paid for? Can you send money to a church to feed the homeless weekly or monthly, you know, on your behalf? So every little drop counts. And I think many of us, we want to see our country get back to what it is, but doing nothing is not going to help. So I want to thank you for being with us this evening, and until next Saturday, good night.